But today, Peter Brock is out to down the Queenslander, who has a brand new car running for only the second time here at Calder today. Peter Brock using Dunlop tyres. In fact, practiced on his old tyres yesterday. They're away with Dick Johnson immediately taking the lead.
And it's Johnson and Brock as they go down towards Repco Corner for the first time in their 25-lap journey in Heat 1 of round 2 of the touring car title. Johnson, then Brock. Gary Cook on the outside in the rough there. And Murray Carter and Alan Brown having a great battle for 3rd and 4th. The Blue Falcon, the XT Ford, totally rebuilt since 1980. Dick Johnson, Peter Brock, Murray Carter, then Bob Morris, Alan Brown, Steve Harrington, Gary Wilmington and Gary Cook. Up towards the Glowweave Corner. Tail of the Falcon just hanging out. Peter Brock tucked right in behind. Length and a half, 2 lengths separating now. The big horsepower of the Falcon showing out. But watch Brock as they get down towards the braking area in a car that is quite a bit lighter and should handle and brake much better. There he goes, closing up the gap. 1 lap down. Carter in 3rd. Morris slipping back to 4th. Jansen running wide at the end of the straight. Points leader at this stage in the championship. Johnson with 13 points. Brock with 9. Murray Carter with 6. Jansen with 4. And Harrington with 2.
Just a sheet of flame there from Bob Morris's Falcon as he went into the corner at the end of the back straight. But here we have the leader, Dick Johnson, coming under severe pressure from Peter Brock. Murray Carter holding down a very good 3rd place ahead of Bob Morris. And the rest of the field stringing through there, the 2 Capris of Masterton and Bond. And down past the start-finish line for the 2nd time.
On their first lap, they recorded a time of 51.3 seconds.
Johnson very determined this year to make up for a rather poor season last year, apart from Bathurst, and doing it very well as he goes up the back straight. Each time out of the corners, the extra power of the 351 Ford engine pulling him away from the Commodore, and the Commodore making it up under brakes. This should be the pattern of the day.
46.4 seconds their time on the 2nd lap. 3/10 outside their qualifying time. And Johnson very sideways around Glowweave Corner, using every inch of the track. Likewise, Peter Brock off on another journey around the 1-mile Calder circuit. Peter Brock content at this stage to stay around about 25 to 30 metres behind, following Dick Johnson, looking for any weak points that he may have. Back to 3rd place, and Murray Carter in the Falcon in 3rd. Bob Morris, Alan Brown, Steve Harrington. On their last lap, they recorded 46.1 to equal their fastest times in practice yesterday.
Cold, blustery day here yesterday in practice, and not really conducive to fast motor racing. But Dick Johnson really held the crowd spellbound with his runs, always at very high speed around this 1-mile circuit. Once again, under brakes, Brock closes each time, and then once they get onto the straight, the Falcon pulls away. Into Repco Corner, and I think possibly Johnson is opening up a bit of a gap.
Just edging out a little bit further each time. This is going to be a real cat and mouse. The big powerful Falcon. Commodore slightly down on power by comparison, but yet handling and braking very well.
It's one of the best things that could have happened to touring car racing, to have a great opposition like this for the Holden dealer team, which in fact held everybody at bay last year. And it's one man, Dick Johnson, who's doing it all, thanks to a large injection of money last year after his Bathurst misfortunes.
A mammoth response from viewers throughout Australia. And they contributed a huge amount of money that was equalled and matched by Edsel Ford Group. And this has given Dick Johnson the money enthusiasm to go racing in 1981, and as Peter Brock put it, he's one of the few privateers to really get his act together. Murray Carter still in 3rd place, Bob Morris in 4th place.
Great dice going on down the back of the grid there between Gary Wilmington and Peter Jansen and Gary Cook.
Giving Wilmington some hurry up through the S's that time, Paul.
Certainly he seems to have the measure of Bob Morris, and there goes the caprice of Masterton, Steve Masterton, spinning off the track down there at Repco. And Ray Alford off the road again. I think this time possibly intentionally pulling into the pits by the back way.
Back way into the pits. In fact, Peter Brock has 3 Australian Touring Car Championships to his credit. That's been equalled by Alan Moffat, who we hope to have appearing in the peripheral courted Mazda RX-7 at the 4th round of the Australian Touring Car Championship at Sandown. His intention is not to, of course, take out the Touring Car Championship, but hopefully to prepare the car for the longer distance events, the events that he feels the Mazda will be better suited for. Brock going past Laurie Nelson in car 29, currently second in the under 3 litre class with 4 laps to go. There's the gap between Johnson and Brock, car 17 and car 05.
And I get the impression that Peter Brock is gritting his teeth now.
Yep.
He is really working away at it. He's got a long way to go, because it's one thing to get onto the tail of the Falcon. It is something entirely different getting past Dick Johnson if Dick decides he doesn't want it to happen.
It's pretty hard to substitute horsepower, and that's what Dick Johnson has up his sleeve at the moment. Onto the main straight and down with the loud pedal, and the big Falcon just draws away. And that makes it ever so more difficult for Brock to narrow down that gap, because he's got to work extra hard into the braking areas and through the tight and twisty corners on the Calder circuit, particularly the S's and Glowweave corner.
And it's in the braking areas that he would have to try and get by, if at all, because he can stop that Commodore just a little bit quicker than the heavier Falcon. But then, of course, if Johnson decides to close the door, use an incorrect line into the corner, that messes up that idea.
Colin Bond, a former teammate of Peter Brock, and Willow off the circuit. Peter Williamson in car 77, and a few of them having a go there out in the exit of Repco corner. Dust flying. All back on the circuit. I was going to say that Colin Bond, a former teammate of Peter Brock in the old days, and Bondy just holding up Brock momentarily. And Colin Bond is leading the under 3 litre class at the moment.
One might add holding him up unintentionally as well, I think.
1.9 seconds between first and second.
Now Bob Morris is in the way, and there's never a great deal of love lost between Peter Brock and Bob Morris, although there we saw Bob wave him by. Good move under the circumstances as Bob's been lapped. Remember, he is running a long-distance engine in that car, not one of the very necessary sprint engines you'd use here at Calder with maximum horsepower. There's very little in it. Time is running out, and in fact Johnson is starting to try now. He's using all the road and a little bit more. And Brock has him firmly set in his sights.
1 lap to go, and there's 1.7 seconds separating first from second, and there you see the gap between Johnson and Brock as they go through Repco corner, and Brock working very hard. You can see the car drifting across the circuit.
He could do something with these back markers, but then so could Dick Johnson, Queenslander.
Gary
really
Wilmington in front of Dick Johnson, and then Darryl Greatrex in the Escort in front of them. So there's not an awful lot of traffic to get around, and Johnson sideways as he goes around Wilmington up towards Glowweed. Checkered flag being prepared for Dick Johnson. I think it's too late for Peter Brock.
In fact, it was a beautiful move to get that car between him and Brock as they went into Glowweed corner. There was no way Brock could get by, and a very well-judged, well-driven win by Dick Johnson, Touring Car Championship. Gary Cook's car. On fire, we rather think. No, everything looks well. Dick Johnson finishing first ahead of Peter Brock, with Murray Carter a very well-driven third place.